Welcome to Sports Talk Live. I'm Haley Kunz.
I'm Jesse Gunnigan.
And I'm Barrett Everson.
It may be the off-season for the NFL, but we still think that there's a lot to talk about, and we're going to jump right in with the Packers off-season. So right now, they're almost $35 million under the salary cap. They have 19 players who could go as free agents. What do you guys feel like the biggest position that the Packers need to fulfill is?
Well, I think a lot of these free agents are guys that they need to find a way to bring back. I think, you look at the free agent list, and there's a lot of important guys on it. James Jones, Jermichael Finley, Sam Shields, James Starks, John Kuhn. James Jones last year had 59 catches for 817 yards and 3 touchdowns. And the year before that, he led the NFL in touchdown passes. This is an important guy to bring back if they can afford it. But if he has to walk, Jared Boykin is plenty capable of stepping up into that role. And another important free agent, I think, is John Kuhn. And because they don't use the fullback a ton in this offense, but they wouldn't have made the playoffs last year without John Kuhn's block on that 4th down play against Julius Peppers. So really important, I think, to try and bring back Jones. Maybe not totally vital, but John Kuhn, I think, is an important guy to bring back in this offense.
I agree. I also look at the tight end, Jermichael Finley, who was huge for us for a few years, but with that neck injury, you just don't know if you want to take a chance on him. So I hope that they can draft a guy from Iowa like C.J. Fiordowicz, I think his name is, and he's one of the best blocking tight ends that we have, and now that we got finally a decent running game, I think that's going to be important to have.
I think one huge figure is Sam Shields, and should he return, I know that some people have possibly thought about using a franchise tag on him, and he would want, I think, about $12 million a year, and that'd be 1/3 of their salary cap. He had 4 interceptions and 61 tackles in 14 games last season. I think that's some pretty good stats. I'm just not sure if we should keep him. What about you guys?
I'd bring him back at that price because every game that the Packers faced a really good receiver last year, whether it was A.J. Green or Calvin Johnson, it was Sam Shields lined up on that guy and shutting him down for the most part every single time he had the opportunity. So I think Shields is a little expensive, but if they can swing it, I think he's an important guy to bring back, especially because I know Detroit's going to be sniffing around him, and you can't have him going over there because that Detroit team underperformed last year. They've still got some talent.
Yeah, I just don't know that any defensive player is worth $12 million a year. I mean, that's borderline what Aaron Rodgers was. What's he make? $20 million a year?
Yep. I think that right now the safety position is the biggest struggle for us. I think that Morgan Burnett and M.D. Jennings just didn't cut it, and I think that we could possibly acquire someone from the Buffalo Bills, Jarius Byrd. It looks like the Browns aren't going to sign them again this year, so I think that if the Packers could snag him up, that might be a possible safety position for us. Moving into the NFL mock draft, who do you guys have going in your top picks?
To me, right now, the number one pick, the guy you have to draft if you're the Houston Texans sitting at number 1, is Jadeveon Clowney. I know he underperformed a little bit last year, 3 sacks only the whole year, but that was against double and triple teams. This guy was a Heisman contender coming into last year. He made the play of the year in college football in 2012. I believe we have that, if we could maybe hit that. Maybe. There it is. Ooh. Just crushing Vincent Smith of the Michigan Wolverines, knocking his helmet off, and then he recovers that fumble with one hand. So, Jadeveon Clowney, and then this is a guy who's 6'6", 274, and he ran a 4.47 40-yard dash. That's faster than all but 5 running backs at the Combine this season. The guy's a physical freak. To me, passing on him would be like Cleveland passing on LeBron James back in the day. You take him, you're set at that position for a decade.
It's interesting that you brought up Cleveland and drafting LeBron James, because I kind of see them taking Johnny Manziel, even though I don't believe he's the top quarterback in the draft. He's from Texas. He's he's a hometown boy, and sounds like they want a new quarterback. So I feel like they're going to take him, and I hope he flops because I'm not a Johnny Manziel fan.
Now, I've seen a lot of people who want Blake Bortles to go number 1 for Houston from Central Florida. I wouldn't agree. I think that either Teddy Bridgewater or Derek Carr could possibly be equal or better than Bortles, but I agree with you that Jadeveon Clowney should go number 1. I think that's a better pick for Houston overall right now.
Yeah, I think Bridgewater he had a little bit of a down year last year and a heavily hyped coming into the season. Bortles is a new guy onto the scene. Big bowl game for him for Central Florida. I think they're both the quarterback position this year. I think everyone comes with a little bit of risk, and I think Clowney's a sure thing in a draft with a lot of risk. So I think that's where you got to go if you're Houston.
Now, do you think it was his 40 time alone that made him blow up? Because I feel like people put too much emphasis on the 40.
He was a Heisman contender coming into the season last year. I mean,
I knew that.
This guy was the #1 recruit in the country a few years ago coming into South Carolina. He's been heavily hyped for years now, and the 40 time just adds to the legend that is Jadeveon.
Because, I mean, how many times in his career is he going to run 40 yards flat out sprinting?
I don't know, but I know how many times he can hit a guy like he hit Vincent Smith, and it was pretty amazing.
How about Sammy Watkins? I've seen a lot of people put him as possibly #2, maybe going to the Rams.
Yeah,
what do you guys think about that?
He had a monster combine, 4.4 340. This is a guy who had a lot of production coming out in 2011 for Clemson. A lot of production last year. Injuries in between, so a little bit of an injury risk with him. But a guy you definitely would take with a top 5 pick if you need a receiver.
Definitely. Okay, and along with the NFL draft theme, we're going to kind of talk about Johnny Manziel. I know a lot of people think that he should go in the first round, maybe top 5 pick, and then there's a lot of people who are saying, I don't know, maybe he should go in the 2nd or 3rd round. I personally think, even though I'm not the biggest fan of him, I still think he should go in the 1st round, possibly I would say, I don't know, maybe to Houston, maybe to Oakland. I don't really know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's too many teams that need a quarterback. So I agree. I don't think he's first-round material, but there's so many teams that really need a quarterback that he's probably going to go. Plus, he's got all that hype behind him, so everybody ignores the fact that he's 5'11" and 7/8", like that's a big deal. Or the fact that he ran a 4.7 40. I mean, he does have good maneuverable, evasive actions, I guess you could say.
Which we actually do have a little bit of watching Johnny Manziel just escape a pocket. This is going to start over here again in a second, but
yeah, I mean, he's creative.
This is I know it turns positive, but this is just what drives me nuts about Johnny Manziel is he's always throwing off his back foot. I think that if he actually gets into a good position to throw a ball and doesn't run wild and crazy like he always does, then I think that he could be a legitimate good choice to go in the top 5. I mean, I think that he could use a stronger arm, which obviously can come with practice in the NFL, but I don't know if he's good enough.
Yeah, if I'm Minnesota, I'm not letting him get past me at 8 because I think he's a dynamic playmaker, a lot like Russell Wilson could be. So
enough with the NFL for a little while. It's 3/4 of the way through the NBA season right now, and where do you guys think we're at right now?
I think it's an exciting time for the NBA. LeBron James just went off for 61 points last night. He's made it well known that he wants that 5th MVP award. He feels like he got snubbed a couple years ago. When Derrick Rose won, everybody thought that they had MVP fatigue in voting for LeBron James. But Kevin Durant's been solid all season, but everybody pays attention to what they've seen lately. So LeBron James putting up 61 last night, I think it's going to give him a good run at the MVP again.
And it's really between him and Durant right now, and I think LeBron probably solidified his position as the front runner last night. What's really interesting to me, though, in the NBA right now is the bottom third of the Western Conference playoff picture. 8 teams make it in each conference. Right now, 6th is Golden State, 7th is Phoenix, 8th is Dallas, 9th is Memphis. They're all separated by a game and a half. And Minnesota's been playing some really good basketball lately. They're only 5 back. Any one of those teams could make the playoffs. Any one of them could miss the playoffs. And Golden State is a particularly interesting case because they were thought to be a sure thing, maybe a sleeper Western Conference Finals team to start the year. Now here they are. They might not even make the playoffs. So the bottom third of the Western Conference really is a thing to watch as we come down to the last 20 or so games of the season.
Yeah, I actually made the mistake of picking Golden State to come out of the West before the season started. They still could because they're dangerous, and Mark Jackson, I think, is a good coach. But I think, watch out for teams like Phoenix. They don't have any big stars, but Jeff Hornacek has them playing well. And
Goran Dragic has been a revelation in Phoenix for them. I mean,
he got traded to Washington now.
Yes.
But Yeah, I think teams could overlook him or the Suns and maybe get beat.
Well, we're going to take a quick break and look at Perfect Pets, and we'll be back with NCAA basketball.
Meet Maverick, a 12-week-old American Staffordshire Terrier who's looking for a family to love. And here's Donnie, a lovable 1-year-old tiger mix that likes to have fun and is good company. Meet Max, a 4-year-old terrier mix that loves to play catch and always has a ball. And here's Amina. She's a 9-month-old pit bull terrier and shepherd mix that always has a game to play.
To find out more about adoption for these pets or others, contact the Cooley Region Humane Society at 781-4014.
Thanks for joining us back at Sports Talk Live. Right now we're going to delve into the Badgers. Right now they have won 7 in a row, looking to make it 8 or 9 more wins in a row after this week. They've had a rough patch in January and have really come on strong in February. I think that right now they're on their way to getting a number 2 seed in the tournament, and the tournament just a few weeks away. How do you guys feel about the Badgers right now?
I think this is the team right now with the best resume in the country going into the tournament. I know we have the lower third up that says 2 seed material. This could be a 1 seed because Wisconsin right now has good wins over Florida, the number 1 team in the country, Michigan number 12, St. Louis number 17, Michigan State number 22. They've beaten number 24 Iowa twice. They beat ACC champ number 15 or number 5 Virginia. So this is a team with as strong a resume going into March as anyone has in the country. And if the Big Ten tournament manages to break right for them, they could find themselves on the top line of one of these regions.
Well, and everybody got worried after that, 16-0 start. They stumbled a little bit, but that had to be expected because the Big Ten, I think, is by far the strongest conference in all of college basketball right now. They've got, 4 or 5 teams in the top 25.
Yep.
And you're going to lose on the road to some of those teams. So I don't think it was a big surprise that they stumbled. I like the fact that they are coming on strong now, and it's the perfect time to come together as a team.
It's a deep conference, too, with they've got a game coming up to finish the regular season at Nebraska. That is no cakewalk, even though Nebraska's been traditionally bad at basketball. But they're a fringe tournament team this year, so this is a deep conference that goes way down. And Nebraska, despite not being very good traditionally, is somewhere where Wisconsin could stumble. So they got to keep their heads up going into the tournament.
Definitely. Now, Wichita State 31-0 this season. A lot of people are saying that they don't know if it's quite legit, and they might not think it is legit until they go deep into the tournament this season. I think that they've proven themselves. I mean, 31-0, no matter how good of a team you are, there's always mistakes. There's always a game where you might have troubles, and they still went 31-0. And I still think that that's a pretty good accomplishment so far. Do you think they deserve the number 1 seed?
I think they deserve to be a 1 seed. I know there's talk of giving them the overall number 1 seed going into the tournament. I don't think they're that good. I don't know who they've played. You look at their resume, they've beaten their good win, their only good win all year is St. Louis. And that's pretty much it. I don't know what Wichita State is yet, and I don't know what they'll be when they face competition, the quality of the major conferences. They'll get a top seed, they deserve a top seed, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them flame out early in the tournament.
Yeah, I know last year they lived up really well to their name, the Shockers, and they came in. It took everybody by surprise because they didn't have any big-name players, but they have a very well-rounded team. They have 6 of their 9 top scorers from last year. They still have the coaching staff, and I think this year they're going to come out and try to prove something, but I don't know the teams are going to overlook them like they did last year.
I definitely think they have a Elite 8 kind of appearance. I don't know if they can get to the Final 4.
We'll see how the brackets play out.
That's why it's almost impossible to predict this sometimes because you never know who they're going to run into as a 2 seed. If they get Syracuse as a 2 seed, that's a darn good 2 seed.
Right.
So
that's a game I'm already looking forward to.
Yeah, it might not even happen, but I'm looking forward to it a little bit too.
I know. It's pretty exciting. Another team, Virginia, surprised everybody by winning the ACC this season. They were undefeated since January 13th after they lost by 4 points at Duke. And the ACC, arguably one of the best conferences in college basketball. I think that they kind of took everybody by surprise, and I think they have a pretty good chance of doing well in the tournament this season.
Yeah, I really like their coach. Tony Bennett happens to be a UW graduate from Green Bay, and his father, Dick Bennett, was a former coach of the Badgers, and I played for him at a college basketball camp at Stevens Point. And Tony Bennett also played in the NBA a little bit. I think he's one of those guards that was never really good, but he was a perfect coach. And I like to see him getting the recognition that he deserves.
Yeah, and getting back to the team a little bit, at Maryland is the only game they have left this season. It's always tough when you go into Maryland. They're not that great this year, but it's a tough place to play, a tough environment. But this is a team that's already won the ACC in a year where the ACC added Syracuse, where they still have Duke, where UNC is streaking and really good. So this Virginia team is tested, they are ready, and they're going to get a high seed in the tournament, maybe even in play for number one if they go out and win the ACC tournament. Out of nowhere to start the year, but this is a team that has really proven themselves to be very, very good and can be a wrecking ball come the tournament because they can play defense and they can score on you and they can beat anyone in the country right now.
They do lead the nation in scoring defense, which is a pretty big feat.
Yes.
And I think their blowout win against Syracuse this past Saturday just kind of solidified who they are, and they're not backing down.
Yes.
I mean, I think Syracuse is going to make it pretty far in the tournament, but that kind of just put them down a little bit.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
That Syracuse
definitely.
team is one of the most talented teams in the country, and they beat the pants off of them, and which was as impressive a win as I've seen all year because just beating Syracuse is hard enough, but to beat them that way, real impressive from Virginia.
It was kind of interesting that Virginia also lost to Wisconsin and Green Bay this year so far. And Wisconsin, that was a low-scoring game. I think it was like 48-38,
yeah.
Which was incredible. And looking at them then, I mean, the Badgers looked good at the beginning of the year, but I did not think that they would do that well looking at the end of the season.
Well, another shameless plug for the UW system school is Green Bay is one of those teams that gave the Badgers all they could handle in the beginning of the year.
3-point win, I think.
And I think watch out for Green Bay to be that number 12 seed that's going to topple over the 5 seed.
Speaking of the 12 seed, we're going to move into some seed projections. I do think that the Green Bay will get that 12 seed. I also think that the Badgers will probably solidify a 2 seed. Depends on how the Big Ten tournament goes, but I don't think they'll probably move up much higher. What do you guys think?
Well, I was talking with Jesse before the show started, and I do think that if they win the Big Ten tournament, there's a good chance that the Badgers could have the number 1 because there's, the top 2 or 3 teams that are pretty much solidified number 1s, but then there's that 4th one out there, and because the Big Ten is so strong of a conference, I think it would bode well if they won it all.
Yeah, I think right now 3 of those top 4 seeds are locked up. I think right now you got Florida is definitely going to be a 1 seed. They've got a couple games left. One of them is against Kentucky. They can afford to even lose that Kentucky game and still have a better resume than any team for a 1 seed. Wichita, we've talked about them. They're a 1 seed. They're unbeaten. Arizona probably has a 1 seed locked up. I can't get that loss to Arizona State out of my head. That was a bad one, but they are going to be a 1 seed. But the 4th number 1 seed is up for grabs right now. And I think if Duke or Virginia goes in and wins that ACC tournament, it's going to be hard to deny them it. But I'm taking a streaking North Carolina to go in and win that tournament. So the Badgers suddenly have this road for them. If they win the Big Ten tournament, it's right there for them to be a number 1 seed.
All right, so who do you think is going to win it all here? I mean, I feel like this is, obviously every year we always say about how great it's going to be, but I feel like there's a lot of good competition this year. It's completely up for grabs.
I hate to take the number 1, Florida, but they do have like 4 seniors playing for them. I think they want it real bad, and they've got the experience. I don't think Wichita State is going to win it all, but I do think that there are teams like Arizona or even Duke, unfortunately, with the coaching of Mike Krzyzewski and the great Jabari Parker. They could step up and win it all too.
I'm going to go off the board a little bit with a team we haven't mentioned. I'm going to go with Kansas. I think this is the team with the most talent on their roster in the country. Potentially 2 of the top 3 picks in the NBA draft this summer in Joel Embiid and Andrew Wiggins. I think this is a team that is bored by regular season basketball, and I think they can turn it on in a sense once the tournament starts and just plow through however many games it takes to win a title and do that. So I'm taking Kansas, probably a 2 seed, to go through and win the national title.
Okay. I think you guys both have valid points. Florida and Kansas, both tournament teams. Sometimes they're not the best in the regular season, but then it gets to tournament time and they really turn it on. I definitely think that they can do well. I'm going to have to go with Syracuse. I know that they suffered a tough loss this past weekend, but I think that they've proven that they can win it all. They have a good mix of freshmen, Tyler Ennis, upperclassmen, CJ Fair, and I think Coach Boeheim is the guy that is coaching a great team this year. He's all about the defense, and I think they have a legitimate shot, although it's up for grabs.
I just hope I win that $1 billion bracket that they have online.
That Syracuse team was undefeated for the longest time this season, too, and has hit some miracle shots to stay that way, but it's a very deep team, plenty capable of winning it all.
They won 21 straight to start off, right?
Yeah. Well, we will be right back. We're going to just take a quick look at a UWL promo.
Hey, can't find what you're looking for?
What?
You can find what you're looking for and more at WMCM. WMCM-TV has plenty of shows you can view at your pleasure. There's Profile, where we interview people throughout the community. Or if you like sports, we have Sports Talk Live and Sports Scene. And if you're into celebrity gossip, that's why we have Afternoon Delight.
Well, that all looks great, but I'm on a computer, not a TV. I bet you guys don't have a way for me to watch this stuff on a computer.
Oh, we have that covered too. Just go to WMCMTV.com for all the updates.
Wow, that solves all my problems. Thanks, WMCM Genie.
Welcome back to Sports Talk Live. Now, spring training just got underway, and the Brewers are playing in Arizona again this year. And I don't know if many of you heard, but a cute little creature walked into their facilities not too long ago, and the Brewers named him Hank the dog. It looked like he had been hit by a car when the Brewers got him, and he just seems to be like a cute little new playmate for a lot of the players. I know Giovanni Gallardo and Jonathan Lucroy have been playing with him a lot. What have you guys heard about that?
I think Hank comes in at the right time. I think he's a real good distraction for a Brewers team that had a lot of negativity coming into this season. Ryan Braun coming back with A-Rod out. Ryan Braun is the most unlikable guy in baseball at the moment. So Hank is coming in at a perfect time. He's a complete distraction. No one's even talking about Braun. They're talking about Hank racing with sausages. So thank God Hank's here.
And another good time. I mean, he came in on February 17th, which happens to be Michael Jordan's birthday. I know he doesn't have a lot to do with baseball, but he did have a brief stint with baseball, remember? So February 17th, I think, is a good date, and I like the fact that it's, it's a good calming feeling when you pet a dog or any kind of an animal. So with all the Brewers,
Maybe he can be their good luck charm.
Yeah,
I know. It's just weird that you look at like all these websites, and then you got Brewers, little something about Ryan Braun, maybe something about how people are feeling about him. Then you got Hank the dog on Twitter, and it's just kind of blowing up right now. I think it's funny. I saw a picture the other day when they were playing the Cubs, and the dog had a little bear cub stuffed animal in his mouth and was chewing it up. I
saw that. I'm waiting to see if Bernie takes him down the slide with him with the first home run of the year.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
That would be cool.
All right, now that spring training is underway, how do you think the Brewers are going to pan out this year?
I think better than last year. I mean, they picked up Matt Garza, who's a quality pitcher, to help their pitching staff. Marco Estrada continues to improve. And, of course, Giovanni Gallardo is our pretty much rock at the pitching position. And Gene Segura showed that he is a legitimate all-star last year. And I'm actually looking for Ricky Weeks to improve out of his, 2-year slump from batting?
Yeah, I don't know if I would count on that. But, Scooter Gennett is pretty good himself, and he's going to step in ably. And obviously they're going to try and solve that first base situation this year with Mark Reynolds. Juan Francisco is going to play some at that position, and Lyle Overbay is coming back. So a lot of changes for the Brewers. as I look around spring training, I just see a lot. I don't know how much spring training games matter, but I see that the Seattle Mariners are out to a 5-1 start, and they're a really interesting team this season because the Mariners went out and spent this offseason a lot of money. Robinson Cano signing a 10-year, $240 million contract. This is a guy who's going to step in for them in a tough division, be a really important part of that lineup. I don't know if he's enough to get them over the Texas and Oakland hump, but a guy who's never played under 159 games in a season and hits .314 with 27 home runs. That's a good guy to have around, especially at a position like second base where there aren't a lot of good players at that position.
Definitely. Kind of going back a little to the Brewers there. I think they have a pretty good chance of doing a lot better than last year. A lot of things went wrong for them last year, so I think that this year, I think that Jonathan Lucroy, it's hard to look like a star when you got Yadier Molina in the same category as you in the same conference, and Lucroy had a .340 on base percentage and a .455 slugging percentage last year. I think that he's one of the underlooked people on the Brewers, and he really deserves a lot of respect. I think that Carlos Gomez, he's one of the best defensive players in baseball. He saved 38 runs in center field last year, and he had a career-high 24 homers. I think that those two players, sometimes overlooked, will really help the Brewers this season.
Yeah, as long as Gomez can stay healthy,
Yeah.
I feel like he's so fast and he's so reckless sometimes that he puts himself in danger of hurting himself.
I think it's going to be big for him too to prove that last year wasn't a fluke, because it was really his breakout season last year, and he's going to want to repeat that coming into this season. As you said, 38 runs saved defensively. I love that stat.
I know, that's awesome.
And just one of the best defensive players in baseball, and now he's turning into one of the best hitters too.
Yeah,
So.
I think staying healthy is really important. We got Ricky Weeks, who never seems like he's healthy. Matt Garza, who we just acquired, hasn't been healthy since 2011 fully. So Brian Braun, the whole situation, it's tough. If the Brewers can stay healthy, I think they have a really good chance of doing well this season.
Yeah, I think as long as Ryan Braun adjusts to the new steroid that he'll be taking this year, or doesn't take any steroids, then he'll hopefully win some fans over. I like to see that he got a home run in his second pitch in the preseason.
Yep.
All right, now it's time for a little FaceTime. I know that Barrett has a lot to talk about. Can you give us a little insight?
Tiger Woods, the world #1 golfer or world's #1 wuss? Let's see. He goes in. He's losing by a little bit in the first 2 rounds on this last weekend. Then he shoots a 65, so he gets himself into contention. Then he comes out and he shoots 5-6 over after 13 holes and decides, my back hurts. I don't want to finish. I feel like if you're the world #1, you got to finish. The fans are there to see you. They paid to see you. You make a ton of money on endorsement deals, and just suck it up. I've seen him suck it up with limping on one leg to finish a tournament when he was in the lead. But just because you're losing doesn't mean you got to quit. It shows a bad example for the kids.
It's the Honda Classic, though. I don't think Tiger really cares about the Honda Classic.
I don't think so
I think
either.
there's 4 tournaments a year that Tiger Woods cares about.
Yes,
and the rest
I know.
of them are there to pad his wallet for the other parts of the year.
I know he's worried about his majors. I'm just saying that you gotta suck it up sometimes.
Yes. All right, Jesse, let's hear a little about Pelicans.
A little bit about the Pelicans, not so much as a team, but dear New Orleans Pelicans, I know your old mascot looked a little murdery. He looked a little like he'd kill you in your nightmares. But at least that was something. At least you were interesting. Because right now, you've changed your mascot. He had facial reconstruction surgery because he broke his beak. And so they put a big cast on his head and brought out a new mascot. And at least you were interesting before when your mascot looked like it would kill you. Now you bore me, so go back to the old one.
Well, thank you for staying tuned for Sports Talk Live. Catch us this afternoon at 4 o'clock for Afternoon Delight.